let's enter the webinar. Very warm welcome to all our participants. Amit, Bhavik, Hiral, Nimesh, Parvati, Sapna, Trupti, Tushar, Yugandhar, Ushma, Chavi, Hiral, Mauli, Vanita. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Good afternoon, Sapna. Well, it's time to begin with our today's webinar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. Beautiful quote by Dolly Parton. Balancing your professional and personal life can be challenging, but it's essential. Often work takes precedence over everything else in your lives. Our desire to succeed professionally can push us to set aside our own well-being. Creating a harmonious work-life balance or work-life integration is critical, though, to improve not only our physical, emotional, and mental well-being, but it's also important for our career. A good work-life balance, said Chris Chansey, has numerous positive effects, including less stress, a low risk of burnout, and a great sense of well-being. This not only benefits employees, but also employers too. What is work-life balance and why it is important? Let's hear it from our expert today. HR Association of India welcomes you all to the 2021 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic Work and Life Balance. To know more about HRAI and its event, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. Request all the participants to kindly share your feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Ms. Hena Sharma, Chief Happiness Officer, hopeandhappinesscoach.com. Hena Sharma is the founder and the Chief Happiness Officer at Hope and Happiness Coach. She balances multiple roles gracefully, be it her growing business, mother of two energetic daughters, wife of a senior banker, or guide and confidant to her multiple clients around the globe. She is an ACC life coach from International Coach Federation and a Heal Your Life teacher. She regularly conducts workshops, coaching sessions, and seminars on positive thinking, motivation, teen play shops, and happy workplaces. She is recognized as top 51 global happiness leaders and was also awarded by Mentor of Excellence Award at the National Conference of Women Leadership. A global goodwill ambassador for her work in charity services. She has been also featured in the Indian Express, The Hindu, Silicon India, Wow, and Tulip. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. Details have been shared in the chat window. I now hand over the platform to Ms. Hena. Over to you, Hena.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter, for that lovely, lovely introduction. And I'm so happy to be back on HRAI for another webinar with one of my favorite topics, work-life balance. And you know what better time to do this than now, because all of us, everyone, including myself, is going through so many challenges in this unprecedented times. Managing work, managing life, managing kids, home. It's tough for each one of us. And as you very rightly said, you know, the passion to overwork or achieve, eclipses our own well-being. It just takes over everything else, and then we kind of tend to neglect our own well-being. So a very warm welcome to each one of you here, and I always love to interact with the participants. I would love to know how many of you are here today on this afternoon, Friday afternoon, to spend time with us. So type in the chat box your name so that we can see you. You can wave to each other, say hello to each of you, and let's keep the session very engaging. Let's keep talking to each other using the chat window, and definitely we have Q&A post the session, and I would love to read all your chat messages, and Peter is here to help me. He's going to tell me whatever I miss. So let's see. I see Peter's message on the chat window. By the time you all, hi Parvati, hi Ushma, please type in your names. Good afternoon. Wonderful to see you. I am now going to share my screen. In the meantime, please keep sharing your names. Hello, hi, wonderful to see you. All right. If you can see my screen, give me a
Yes, we
thumbs
can.
up. Great, Peter, wonderful. And let's see if you can still see my screen. Can you still see my screen? Give me a thumbs
Yes,
up.
yes.
Perfect. This is amazing. Peter has been so helpful. And I may not see your chat messages now because my presentation is going full screen. But Peter, keep guiding me. If I miss out on something, I would love to interact with all of you. So,
Sure.
not only our physical and emotional, mental well being, but it is also important for our career. For each one of us who's working so hard to manage the life, if this is not balanced, then it definitely affects all aspects of our life. Another important thing that I would like to mention here is that this session is equally important for each one, whether you are a corporate warrior, or whether you are a homemaker, or whether you are a student. You can, everyone can join the session. So I remember I was doing this session, work life, a series of session for a software company, and one of the guys said, "Can I bring my wife to the session?" Because I'm sure she must hear this. So I would request all of you, if you have your partners, get them. Let's make it interesting. Let's make it, um, engaging enough so that everyone joins, whether you're a student, corporate, or a homemaker. I would love to see all of you also on the screen. So, coming back to the statistics, according to a Harvard Business Survey, 94% of working professionals reported working more than 50 hours per week. And not only that, this time of COVID lockdown has been tough for each one of us, and technology has just taken over. So there is no boundaries, and it has become so tempting to answer every email, every phone call, even during off hours, right? And lacking this balance as an employee can lead to health issues like lower immunity, which is so dangerous these days, cold, flu, heart diseases, headaches, and depression. It can also contribute to failed relationships, stress in the family, and maybe divorce. So, all these things have to be considered to create a harmonious work life balance. Now, when we started, Peter used a wonderful word, life work integration. And I wanted to start my session with that work life balance is impossible. So if you're thinking that by the end of the session you will be able to do it, sorry, you won't be able to, because it is not about just perfectly balancing both. It is about integrating both. It is about integrating the work and life in such a way that both benefits, your well-being benefits and your work benefits as well. All right, so before we move on, I would like you to take a few minutes and be in the present moment. How would we do that? We will do that by just 2 minutes of centering exercise. I will explain about this later during the session, but for now, if you can be with me just how you have participated today in this session, just be with me for 2 minutes and let's center ourselves to this present moment. Living a conscious life starts with being in the present moment. So take a minute. If you can, close your eyes or sit straight and focus on your breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. As you breathe in, you bring your mind, body, and spirit to this present moment. Once again, breathing in and exhaling. As you exhale, notice your shoulder drop, your neck relaxing, and coming to this present moment. Each one of us are handling many roles and responsibilities. So, just for this minute, focus on what's within and what are you here for. Connecting with your heart center through your breath and being in this present moment completely. Breathing in, breathing out. As we were talking, technology has taken over our life. Let us give this 1 minute only to our breath, noticing how it goes in and how it comes out. Whenever you're ready, I would like you to gently open your eyes and bring yourself back to this moment. You can take your journal or note it down, whatever you wish to during this session. And for next few minutes, let's stay together. Let's stay to learn what is it that can be changed to make our life more happy, more balanced, and more fulfilling. Clarifying intentions bring great direction to investing your energy. Where are you investing energy, and what are the activities that you are doing? So stay with me as I move on to the next slide. Welcome back. Now I would want you to take few minutes to answer these questions. Do you exercise at least 5 times a week? Now, the important thing here is you have to answer it either with a yes or a no, just Y or N. Don't try to give it much thought saying sometimes. So just keep it to a yes or no, whatever is the first instinct. Do you exercise at least 5 times a week? Do you experience pain in your neck, shoulders, maybe constant headache, stomach ache? Do you struggle saying no to people? Or do you spend more than 8 hours on gadget? Do you sleep less than 8 hours every day? It was a very simple exercise, and I hope most of you have answered. Are we receiving it on chat as well, Peter?
Yes, yes. So we are receiving responses from Sapna Tushar saying no. Niti Jain also mentioning saying no. This is to the response. Do you struggle saying no to people? Do you spend more than 8 hours on gadgets, or do you sleep
Great,
for less than
great.
8 hours a night?
All right. So this is an exercise, small exercise to see where are you in work-life integration. So if you have answered three or more yes, you are giving too much time and attention to other things and people. And it's crucial for you to save some time for self care. You can do this exercise anytime and ask yourself, what am I doing this time? The days when you feel stressed, the days when you are overwhelmed with work, ask yourself these questions and you will get an answer. Is it me spending more time on other things, other people, or can I connect with myself more? And how do we do that? So there was some questions which Peter shared with me. We know about work life integration, we know that it is important, but how do we do that? So I have created an acronym for you all to remember and be with it so that you always remind yourself when you need it. So the acronym is called HELP. HELP. We will cover each one of this in detail, but for now, I want you to remember the word help, and you can type it in the chat box so I know you are here and you are listening and you are continuously engaging with me. So, HELP, and I'm loving your answers. So,
Yes. So
H.
we have received responses from all: Tushar, Trupti, Jayata, Sapna,
Great, wonderful. So,
Krishna.
what you can do is you can rate each one as I cover each topic, HELP. You can rate each topic on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the minimum and 5 being the highest attention that you're giving in that area, and see your score by the end of the session. So, 1 if you're not paying any attention to that area, and 5 being the highest when you're paying highest attention to that area. All right. So let's start with H. H, as you all can see and very well understand, stands for health, right? Your work suffers if your health is suffering. Your main job, the main promise to yourself is to take care of yourself. Both mental, physical vitality is the fuel that is needed to drive the actions. Your brain works best when it is in a high energy state. And how do you get that high energy state? By keeping your mind and body both healthy. So just like for example expensive car, right? You have an expensive car, most of us drive cars. So when we have a car, what kind of fuel do we put inside the car? We put good quality fuel in a very expensive car. Similarly, when we are taking care of our body, we have to take care of our body as a very expensive machine, which needs care, which needs nurturing, which needs the right nutrition to stay healthy. So I would highly recommend that ask your nutritionist what are the things that your body requires. Check out if there are any deficiencies, because when there are deficiencies, it may lead to cognitive it may lead to your cognitive skills, less attention, lack of focus. All brain leads to all these conditions. So work on your health part. And some of us keep working even when we are not feeling well. That is again an important criteria to take sick leave. It's already been allotted to you. For most of you who are working in corporates, sick leaves are already allotted to you, so take frequent breaks. And even more so now, because during COVID most of us are working from home, so even if we are not feeling too well, we kind of still try to log in and be there. So try to take frequent breaks. And in case you're struggling with a chronic issue, it's best to talk to your manager about it so that they are aware as to what care is required for you. For example, one of my client, while I was coaching him in a senior role, I discovered that he's already suffered 2 heart attacks and his manager was not even aware of it. So, all these things really matter both in your performance and in your career. Shall we move ahead? Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to move ahead.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So now we come to E. E is for exercise, as you can see the dumbbells. It's an effective stress reducer. Why exercise is an effective stress reducer is the moment you are away from your gadget, you're keeping your phone, you're just going out in the fresh air, suddenly you will feel fresh. Just try it for 2 minutes. Just keep everything and go out in the fresh air. Your mood uplifts. You start feeling better because it pumps feel good hormones called endorphins throughout your body. And there is a direct correlation between, again, our brain and exercise. So, even a 10-minute of aerobic exercise can have enormous benefits. So, carve some time every single day for your workout. It could be just 10 minutes every day, but it makes a lot of difference in the way you handle situations during the day. Any questions till now, or shall we move on to the L?
Yes. So,
Any
do you want
guesses?
me to ask the participants to rate on every this after H? Do you want them to rate? They are saying on 1 to 5, or how do you want to move ahead?
Yes. So this is again a very personal exercise. If you can rate for yourself, where do you stand in the health column? Are you taking care of your health? Are you aware of what deficiencies you have? Are you taking the right nutrients? Then you give yourself a higher number. If you're not, then you give yourself a lower score. So by the end of this exercise or these 4 topics, you will know what is it that you need to work on, which is the area that needs your energy and attention.
Sure.
So moving on to L. Any ideas what L stands for? Anybody would like to share?
Laughter, love.
Great. Wonderful answer. So we see a lot of positive people in this group. So the
Yeah.
answer to L is limit. Limit time wasting people and activities. You need to draw firm boundaries around yourself so that you devote quality time with high priority people and activities. How do we do that? We are so occupied with so many things going around us, right? We are in the middle of an important project and a WhatsApp message comes, we tend to pick up the phone and see. And this is the way we kind of scatter our time everywhere. So, limiting your time to high priority projects, people will actually give you a quality life. One of the famous motivators, speakers, Jim Rohn, says that average of you are the average of 5 people you spend most time with. So look around yourself. Who are the 5 people you are spending time with? Who are in your close circle? Who are you talking mostly? What kind of energies are they generating? Is it positive energy or negative energy? Is it time consuming talk or productive talk? So it's growth mindset or lack mindset. So all these things affect your day to day life. People around you and the activities around you can actually affect your brain functions. And who you spend time with is what you become. So whether you're spending time doing a productive activity, or you are doing spending time doing an activity which is not really working for your growth, just look out for that. And here you can scale yourself as per the activities that you do every day. If you're working towards your growth, if you're working towards your um, well-being, then you give yourself a higher rating. But if you are spending time with people who are pulling you down or not giving you that energy, then you give yourself a low rating, and then the change begins. As I said, when the clarity comes in the intentions, the change comes too. Moving on, shall we move ahead to the next
Yes.
section, P? P is for passion. And why passion? Because when we follow our passion, we get excited about life. Then time doesn't seem to be very tough. And sometimes, yes, we overdrive on it. Like I did last month, I was so excited about all the work coming, the webinars, that I didn't want to say no to anyone. And then I developed the shoulder pain, and I realized it's time to pull back, give my body some rest, and then go on to the overdrive again, balanced drive again, not overdrive. So when we work on our passion, we are excited about our work. It doesn't seem to be a burden. But sometimes, following your passion, we also tend to have perfectionism, right? Most of us have the habit of perfectionism. What happens when you are trying to be perfect? Actually, perfectionism is a negative word, negative emotion. How can it be a negative emotion? Any idea? Anyone in the chat window would like to share? How can perfectionism be negative?
We put pressure in ourselves, says Myra.
Perfect.
Uh, Riddhi says you expect a lot from yourselves.
Yes, a perfect answer. So, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, because it reduces our creativity and innovation, and the self talk that we do, it's very self sabotaging, which leads to frustration and anxiety. That is why perfectionism is a negative emotion. So, when you let go of your perfectionism and follow your passion, that is the time you start enjoying those things. And again, passion is not just one thing. Passion could be many for many things till you explore what is it that is giving you joy. And sometimes even the most glamorous jobs are taxing, and but it is easier to find happiness when you are following or pursuing your passion. So that's HELP. Now you have your scores ready with you. Have a look at it. Out of 20, what's your score, and where do you score the lowest? Which is the area that needs your attention? Is it your health? Is it your exercise routine? Is it the people around you? Or is it uh, your passion? Are you working on your passion? Is your career or your job, are you passionate about it?
So we have Myra who's rating herself 4, but that's only on health. Myra, you have to rate yourself on all the skills, uh, be it area of health, exercise, limit, or passion. Okay, we have a response from Tushar. He says health, he rates it 3, exercise 2.5, limit 3.5, and passion 3.5.
Okay. So that's very, very honest, Tushar. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And to all of you who have done this exercise, it's going to be a rewarding experience because you will really know which areas to focus on. Sometimes we think, oh, I need exercise, but it could be your health, or it could be the people around you, or it could be your mind doing activities which are more growth oriented, like reading or following a hobby or a passion. So coming to that, let's do another part, and then we will see which area we need to focus on as an individual. So I have something here, a story for you. So let's listen to this story. It's just 2 minutes, I think, again, and we will move ahead. I'm sure you must have heard this story earlier.
A university professor who wanted to make a point about how we make the most of our time. The professor stood before his class with some items in front of him. When the class began, without speaking, he picked up a large empty jar and proceeded to fill it with rocks about 2 inches in diameter. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was full. So the professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly and watched as the pebbles rolled into the open areas between the rocks. The professor then asked the students again if the jar was full. They chuckled and agreed that it was indeed full this time. The professor picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. The sand filled the remaining open areas of the jar. Now, said the professor, I want you to recognize that this jar signifies your life. The rocks are the truly important things, such as family, health, and relationships. If all else was lost and only the rocks remained, your life would still be meaningful. The pebbles are the other things that matter in your life, such as work or school. The sand signifies the remaining small stuff and material possessions. If you were to put sand into the jar first, there is no room for the rocks or the pebbles. The same can be applied to your lives. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are truly important. Pay attention to the things in life that are critical to your happiness and well-being. Take time to look after your health, play with your children, go for a run, write a letter to your grandmother. They will all.
So if you resonate with that story, give me a yay in the chat window. YEAH, yay. Because I always listen to this story when I need to organize myself in all the activities, including fun, work, and quality time for myself.
So we have Bhavna, Ushma, Tushar, Amrita all giving a yay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. So, when we spend time in small and insignificant things, it just takes away time from the larger work that we need to do. For example, you want to work on your hobby or on your passion or on a new project. But if you're spending time on other things, the space will be occupied just like the jar. So we need to fill it with the right things. So here I have segregated what is rocks, what is pebble, and what is sand. You all can have a look at the slide and see for yourself what all are you filling in your jar. So there are certain days when you will feel highly focused and are able to, power through your to-do list. But there will be other days when even completing a task will feel awful, right? So you need to balance it, and that's when I say it is about integration and not about a perfect balance. So instead of just following the rock, pebble, and sand story blindly, as it was told, I would recommend that you modify a bit. And instead of just filling the rocks first with rocks and then with pebbles and then just a bit of sand, put some rocks, then some pebbles, some sand, and then again some rocks, some pebbles, and some sand. That way, you are collecting all the wonderful moments in your life along with what is needed to be done. So, for example, if you are doing your work, you can combine your hobby with it. If you are doing a chore that is taking a lot of time and energy, you can go for a run or a jog that can take your time off it and give something for your health. So for yourself, I would want you to now take a minute and write for yourself what are your rocks, what are your pebbles, and what are your sand in your life. So here we are creating an action plan. Just with the scores that we received earlier between 1 to 5, we are giving what needs our attention. Is it the rock? Is it the pebble? Or is it the sand? So create a plan today on your calendar or in your journal as to how you are going to give time to the right things so that you create a perfect, harmonious, integrated life for yourself. As you do that, I'll just put some slide for you to continue doing that. Make space for all integral parts of your life: rocks, pebbles, and sand. And if you're done, type in the chat window "done" so that we can move ahead.
So we have received responses from Sapna, Myra that they are done.
Yes, Peter.
Yeah, so we have received response from Sapna and Myra saying that they are done.
Great.
Just all the participants to kindly type in the chat box, use the chat box effectively.
Great. So please complete which are the areas or what kind of routine can you create so that you have time for both work, rest, and recreation. Now, why are we doing this exercise? For those of you who may be thinking, I can do it later at another time, or maybe tonight, or maybe tomorrow. Believe me, that tomorrow never comes. So, if you do it right now, there will be a positive change that you will experience in your life. But if you leave it on a later day, it never gets done. And that is why those of you here today in this session will benefit much more than those who would later watch a video, because together we are supporting each other to bring this change. So we are here with an intention. The intention is to learn more about work-life integration, balance, and this is the action that you're taking, creating a routine for yourself, creating a calendar for yourself, and that will lead to manifestation. So intention plus action leads to manifestation. I think we will now move ahead if you are all ready. I have just a little bit more to share, and then we will come to Q&A.
Yeah, we have received a response from Sapna saying that I agree, action needs to be here and now.
Yes, true. Because if we leave it on a later part, it just never gets done. And believe me, trust me, I have been there too. I think, okay, this is a perfect book or a quote or a video. I will look at it again sometime when I'm free. But that free time never comes because you get occupied in so many things. And suddenly, when you see it later, you're like, oh, yeah, I looked at it. I thought I will do it, but I never did. And the change begins when you take that action. Without action, there is no change, there is no happiness. So that brings me to my next slide. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. Most of us, we want to be happy, but are we really taking action towards that? Are we taking day to day action to bring that happiness into your life? If you are working throughout the day for hours and hours, definitely it will not bring that happiness. We need to do something that gives your brain a chance to experience that happiness. That is why I've been using a lot of science related topics here, like how exercise helps our body and brain, how it affects our hormones, And that way you can actually work with your nutritionist or health coach and work towards creating a more active brain, more healthy body, which will lead to better career growth, because you will be able to focus and be more productive. And again, that goes for all, not only for the corporate warriors, but also for homemakers, for students, each one of us. So shall we go to Q&A, or we have time?
Yes, we have time
Okay.
now. Yes.
So one of the questions that Peter shared with me was, why is it that we know about work-life balance, but we are not able to achieve it? So to answer that, there are four enemies to work-life balance. The four enemies which we are going to talk now. So we did four things that help in creating work-life balance. So here are the enemies. You can also see which is your enemy, which is stopping you to have that beautiful integration in your life. The first one is multitasking, right? Most of us do multitasking, working on a project and then checking the phone as to if there's any message. And if there's a WhatsApp, we tend to open it. And that leads to less productivity. And multitasking definitely leads to less productivity and also less focus. So when you are working on a project that needs your complete attention, best is to put your phone or email on silent so that you can focus on it. You will perform better, faster, and then you can go back to that work. Unless until something really requires your attention, then it's okay, but best is not to multitask, to focus on one part of the thing that you're doing, whether it's your exercise, whether it's spending time with your kids, or whether it's working on an important project. Coming to the second enemy, which is stress. So many of us are experiencing stress these days, and many corporates are addressing the issue with their employees by uh, doing this webinars and sessions and podcasts. And still we all are suffering with that. Why is that? Because it is kind of a villain in our life which needs a big battle to fight. And most of these stresses are outside, right? It could be a worry about a family member, it could be job insecurity, or it could be relationship issues, or maybe some project deadlines. We have these stresses which actually it's all in most of the time our head. So it just, you cannot do anything about it, but it occupies a lot of brain space. What do you do with the stress? You try to shield yourself, like we did in the limit part, right? Limit yourself with the things that create stress around you. So if you are working on an important project or some work that requires your focus, try to shield yourself with the thoughts and create an environment around you so that you can focus and then get back to the worry or the stress that needs your attention. Because most of the time the stress is only a worry which is in your head, and you really can't do anything about it. It cannot, you cannot take any actions about it. If you can take any action, go ahead, do that first, and then come back to what is needed to be done. But if you can't do anything about it, best is to let go. Third, as we did earlier, perfectionism. Perfectionism is another villain which lowers your productivity. And as we talked about it, it's a self talk, self sabotaging. And it also reduces your performance because you're always trying to do your best. And you say, oh, I can't do this. I'm still not ready. I can't do this. And that stops you from actually achieving it. For some who wants to especially women, now that Women's Day is coming, we are talking to a lot of women panels, and everywhere it is discussed how we want to achieve everything. We want to be the perfect mother, wife, and corporate. So all this creates a lot of stress, being the perfect everything. So do what you can and let go of what you can't. This Including me, some of us are still struggling, but we are trying to achieve that as much as possible. Being very honest and truthful here. And the fourth one is doubting your ability. Again, that what happens when you doubt yourself? Your brain releases the stress hormone called cortisol, and that disrupts your memory, that lowers your immune system. And when you doubt yourself, you create a belief around yourself that I can't do it. What if I fail? And that fear of failure leads to less action. So these are the four causes that can lead to stress and imbalance. And when you know this is what works and this is what doesn't work, you can integrate both to create the perfect work life balance for yourself. Any questions?
So before we move to the Q&A session, we'll be taking the Q&A session after this, correct?
Right.
So before we move to that Q&A session, we would be running a poll. Would request all our participants to kindly share your feedback on our today's session.
So by the time they're sending their feedback, I would just like to leave them with an affirmation, which is I'm always finding ways to integrate my work life in beautiful ways. This is the affirmation. You can note it down. You can take a screenshot. You can put it on your mobile, your laptop, and this will remind you. And if you repeat it many times, it will register in your subconscious mind that it can be done. Work life integration can be done.
So while you're giving the feedback, would request all the participants to kindly share their questions in the chat window. Once again, I thank all our participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the e-certificate offered by HRAI. You can claim your certificate by sharing your details. When it comes to details, your name and the session that you have attended in an email to the email ID provided in the chat window. We will email the e-certificates to you based on details received. So we have a question from Amruta. Uh, can you list the 4 things about the stress again?
Definitely. I would also like somebody to put it in the chat window as we do that, so that everyone is aware of it. The 4 enemies, as I call them, of work-life balance is number 1, multitasking. Number 2, stress. Stress created by other people and activities, sometimes mostly by our own thoughts. Third is perfectionism. And fourth is doubting your ability. So if you see, most of it is all your brain related, multitasking. Or, why do we multitask? Because again, we want to achieve so many things together. Why do we stress about things when we are unable to do that? Why do we achieve for perfectionism? Because there is some self-talk, self-doubt about that. And doubting your ability again is correlated. So this all can be worked with proper mindset and channeling your thoughts in the right direction. And that is why I shared the affirmation. Thank you, Peter, for typing that.
Yes.
Thank you, Myra.
So there was a question that we had received earlier. Being an HR leader, how can we foster the culture that promotes a good work-life balance for employees?
Being an HR leader, Peter, HR already has a lot of work to do. So I know so much is going on and so much is being handled. And now in the recent times, HR has already taken the coaching role. Many of you who are here from HR have been doing a lot of coaching and mentoring to the employees to not only work on their emotional issues, but also not only work on your professional, but also on the emotional issues. So there is a lot that is happening with HR. Now, work life integration basically starts with the individual. You know, there will be 10 members in the team, two will be doing it themselves, and rest eight may not. So, number one, a thing that as HR partner as or as any corporate that they can do is to give more exposure to it. For example, HRAI has created this webinar so that people know what it is, what are they doing, what are they not doing. And once this awareness comes, the action comes along with it. So the first step is to have more exposure to such topics through webinars, podcasts, or sessions, coaching sessions. And second step would be individual coaching sessions. So when you see that some employees are doing really well but some are struggling, I would highly recommend individual coaching sessions, because where they open up, they talk about what's holding them, and we work along with the team, along with the managers, to work on the areas where they require help, support, handholding, and to have a more fulfilling career as well as life.
Absolutely well answered, Hina. We have another question. What could be the negative impact of improperly balanced work and life? How do we work on that?
So, as we discussed, an improper balance in work and life can lead to many things. Let's talk about work. If you're not able to focus 100% on your work, it will lower your productivity. It will not give you the increment. It will not give you that promotion that you are desiring, right? It will not give you good feedback. And life, it will take over your health, it will create stress which lowers your immunity, which imbalances so many things in our body. So health gets affected, family relationships get affected, because if you're only working on one thing and not paying attention on another, then your relationships around you gets affected, both at work as well as personal relationships. So that's a big thing to work for. So each one of us, as I earlier said, whether you are a corporate person or a homemaker, we need to work on creating a harmonious life and work balance, even for students. So I was doing a session for college students, and there again, they are spending so much time online that they are hardly having any social life. So we do a lot of breakout rooms where we can give them a chance to interact with each other, even though online, but at least some interaction happens.
Absolutely. And those interactions definitely bring those motivational factors. Sometimes working in silos, then working together.
Yes, a lot comes out when you do such sessions in smaller groups and interact with each other. People really open up and talk about their feelings, emotions, and come out as more, positive and motivated individuals.
So we have one last question before we conclude with our today's session. Uh, what are the practical and actionable tips to maintain a work-life balance? Anything specific that we could point
uh,
point us?
Very actionable. That is why I love creating acronyms, and I created HELP, so that whenever you need, you don't even have to look for any book or a podcast or a video to find out what can I do to create a work life balance. All you need to remember is I need help. HELP. And what is help? It is I need to focus on my health. I need to focus on my exercise. I need to limit people and activities that are taking away my time. And I need to focus on my passion. And when you have these four things in your mind, immediately you can bring your energies back to your work or your life, whichever needs attention at that particular time. And that's why it was important to do this activity with us today, so that you can note down which areas needs the attention, so that you can channelize your energy and focus into the right direction.
Absolutely. So thank you, Hina, for sharing these beautiful learnings to improve our work-life balance. A beautiful quote by Michelle Obama, which I would like to share out here. We need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list. This sometimes is what we miss out in our day-to-day activities, that we forget keeping ourselves above all these tasks. It has been a pleasure being with you today. I'm sure our participants have had a lot to learn and take away from this session. Before we conclude with our today's session, we would also want to thank the association members, Geisha, NASCOM COE, LinkedIn Local, Talgro, TLE, and Gliptalk for supporting these HRAI events. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker and our participants, for joining us today. To join us for our next session on connecting the dots on the topic redefining, redesigning way and place of work on the 4th of March 2021. Request you to kindly register for this event at the link mentioned in the chat window. That's it from us today. See you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.
Thank you so much, everyone. And Peter, that was really a wonderful quote to summarize. And I thank each one for participating today. And I look forward to connecting to all of you more.
Thank you, Hina. Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, Tushar. Thank you, Nihali. We hereby conclude